So, part B of chapter 7, moral holiness. Now here, since Yahweh is dealing with agents who have a will of their own, holiness is achieved through a cooperation of wills. The important thing is that the will of the Israelite people be in accordance with God's will, and that is what will make them morally holy. Samson is a good example in the book of Judges as an individual who was a Nazirite. That is an ordinary Israelite who takes on many of the responsibilities of the priesthood. So he was ritually holy, but if you know anything about the story of Samson, you know that he was not morally a very holy man at all. So this tension is found in numerous parts of the Tanakh. However, the idea of moral holiness, how does one achieve it? Well, one achieves it through covenant faithfulness. The relationship between Yahweh and Israel involves specific commands that are to be obeyed, and then it involves certain promises that are to be believed. If you're coming at this from a Protestant or a Roman Catholic perspective, you can think in terms of faith and works, things to believe, things to obey, and what is the ultimate outcome? It's what is said in the book of Exodus. If you will obey these words, I will be your God and you will be my people. So in section 1, what does covenant faithfulness look like? Well, our first duty is to Yahweh himself. And there are what we call performative commands, the you shall commands. And there are prohibitive commands, you shall not, as in the Anglican Book of Common Prayer, forgive us the things we have done, the things we have left undone. Now, the most obvious and the first and greatest performative commandment is you shall love the Lord, your God, with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. So that's the performative commandment. But in the Ten Commandments particularly, we begin with our first four, which are all prohibitive and all have to do with Yahweh. They're not social rules for the management of society. They're duties to Yahweh. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not carve any image or idol of Yahweh. You shall not misuse the name Yahweh. Not so much saying things like, oh my God, or things like that, but more a matter of making sure that the name Yahweh itself is not profaned, is kept sacred. And fourthly, for the ordinary Israelite, they acknowledge Yahweh's presence in the community by observing the Sabbath. The point is not a mandatory day of rest so that you can relax, though doubtless that is a pleasant byproduct. The point is that in not working specifically for food, you acknowledge Yahweh's providential presence in the community, that he will take care of you. For the priests, they acknowledge his presence all the time because they're in the temple. And so these two things go together. You shall observe sacred space and observe sacred time. Be respectful to the men who are ritually holy, who have the long hair and who have the garments made out of two different kinds of fabrics, and the fields sown with two different kinds of seeds, and observe the food laws. In other words, maintain the system of ritual worship that is part of the law of Moses and the identity of the Israelite people. That is something that the people are to do. It's not a universal moral law that would extend across civilizations, but it is a way that they maintain their identity as God's chosen people, Israel. So, second section, what are our duties to our fellow human being and our fellow Israelite, both the native and the alien, as the text sometimes says. Here again, there are performative commands and prohibitive. The performative command is found in the book of Leviticus. Love your neighbor as you would yourself. So, that is the performative command. In the prohibitive commands, we find many, but the Ten Commandments are often repeated in the Levitical law code, what's called the Holiness Code, chapter 17 through 25. You shall not steal, you shall not commit adultery, you shall not murder, you shall not bear false witness. Leviticus, however, goes even further than these external social rules, and you'll observe that many of the laws in the Levitical law code point to things that no one can observe on the outside and that only the person who does them will know about. This is appropriate because it's a sign that Yahweh has entered the community. He sees all. He knows everything. So don't try to get away with anything. Do not put a stumbling block in front of the blind. Do not curse the deaf. As a way of saying, don't do things because you know that you won't get caught. Yahweh knows. And so the important thing is the heart, the inner intention of the commandment. Now in section 3, I want to talk about promises for obedience and curses for disobedience. This is a theme we find in all 3 law codes. You find it in the covenant code in the book of Exodus, in the holiness code in the book of Leviticus, in the Deuteronomic code in the book of Deuteronomy. These are the 3 law codes from the Torah, and all of them end with a series of, if you obey, I promise I will do these things for you. If you disobey, there's going to be trouble. Now, sometimes people ask why there are 3 law codes, but if we think about it, whatever one thinks about their authorship, their final time of composition, they fit the 3 stages of the Israelites' sojourn out of Egypt. In Exodus, they are emancipated from slavery to the Egyptians, and the very first laws in that covenant code have to do with slavery. In the book of Leviticus, though, the situation has changed because now there is a tabernacle. Yahweh has moved and is living in the community. This implies a greater degree of privilege as well as responsibility. So the law code expands. And when we get to the book of Deuteronomy, they are to be moving into the land of Canaan, and they will be many days' travel away from the sanctuary. So again, there is a shift in the law. But in all 3 law codes, there is quite a bit of overlap, similar laws between all 3, and then some differences because of the different circumstances. And they all end with promises of blessing and curses for disobedience. And this is an important part of the law code. Promises for blessing usually include things like the land will be fruitful of food, the womb will be fruitful of offspring. You will be protected from your enemies. They will not conquer you. You will be a kingdom of priests to the nations. And finally, the idea that Yahweh, if Israel is faithful to the covenant, will become Lord over all the nations, Jew and Gentile together, is the great promise. You will be my holy people. I will be your God. This is the idea. And the curses follow naturally as a matter of course. Instead of a productive land, there will be famine. Instead of a fruitful womb, there will be barrenness. Instead of protection from enemies, there will be conquest. And although Yahweh's purposes will never be thwarted, we have the ultimate punishment, which is the Hebrew word karet. You will be cut off from among your people. The idea is that this does not appear to be something that man metes out. God will no longer reckon you as among his people, and you will not be participants in the blessings that will come when his kingdom finally is brought to perfection.